Hey there, Kelly Mink, your executive director for BNI Maine. So today we're going to continue our ABCs for BNI, and we are on C. And C this week is for communication. And we're going to talk a little bit about the different types of communication and then just a few tips on not necessarily improving your communication, but things that you can just quick think about before you hit send or before you say it. So real quick, the four major types, different types of communication that we experience most, especially within networking or BNI. You have your verbal communication, what you say, what comes out of your mouth, the words you're actually using. You have your nonverbal communication, how you hold your hands, where you look, how your body is, how you're using your hands. Just there's lots of different types of nonverbal communication, and I can go on forever about nonverbal communication, but it has a lot to do with the emotions that we're putting out. Visual communication. I love infographics, and infographics are great, and they're a fantastic form of visual communication. But use your visual communications when they add value and how they add value. A lot of times to your feature presentation, infographics work fantastic. And then the last form is your written communication, the emails that we send, the notes that we pass one another. Are they professional? Do they give off the right feel of the emotion and the message we're trying to get off? So bringing all those together, and when we're having a conversation, and in most relationships, you're using all of these different forms of communication to build those strong relationships. So a few tips that we can think about and really consider when we're building those relationships. And sometimes it's the perception of the other person on how they receive the different types of communication. So the very first thing is kind of opposite you communicating, but it's listening. Yeah, we hear it all the time. We're born with two ears and one mouth. So we want to try to listen twice as much as we're talking. Yeah, I love sitting back and just letting people, I call it talking at me, because I'm learning so much and I'm taking in so much. And if you can be present in that entire time that somebody is educating you and explaining all of the things about their business and their world, you're listening. Listen. People love to be listened to, and it builds huge credibility. Your second big one is your body language. Body language matters. I have been in some very awkward situations where somebody will sit there and almost like turn away from me, and their arms are all, all crossed, and then somebody will say, "Oh, well, you didn't seem to communicate much." I'm like, "I didn't think they wanted me to." And what you do with your body when you're communicating, and is the door open to allow someone to come in and talk to you? When you go to a networking event, are you sitting there and are you just sitting there on your phone and looking at stuff and very closed off or facing a wall? Or are your shoulders open to the room and open to somebody coming up and talking to you? When you're having a conversation with another person, are you leaving space for a third person to join and saying, yes, come in? Or are you looking right at each other and fairly close to each other and a little closed off to the rest of the room? When you're having a conversation, the language that you speak through your body says so much more sometimes than the words that are coming out of your mouth. Another big thing, we're all busy, so we try to be brief and specific. I can write paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of the whys behind why we do things. Or I can try to put it into one sentence and three bullets and a quick sentence at the end. People appreciate short and specific. Not to say that there's not a time for long and very detailed, but always keep in mind that people appreciate short and specific. Lastly, think before you speak. If you're not sure how it's going to be perceived, or you're not quite sure if you know the information, or if you really are going to help, don't say anything. You can always follow up later. You can always come back, because often there are people in our worlds who don't necessarily, not that they don't want your opinion, but they're not open to other opinions, or they're not open to somebody else's considerations or thoughts or feelings on something. And that's okay, right? To each is our own. But think before you speak and know who you're talking to. Communication and a simple conversation, I personally feel, would solve 95% of all challenges. Being able to say, hey, there's an awkwardness here. What's going on? What happened? Did I say something that offended you? Or did I say something that you didn't agree with? How can we fix this? Because at the end of the day, getting past the small barriers and opening up the opportunities is going to change all of our worlds. It's going to open up the opportunities for business, for relationships, for friendships, for opportunities that we never thought we would ever have. Communication and being able to communicate is so important. If you're having a challenge with this, I tend to over communicate personally, but I'm also the first one to sit there and say, hey, I made a mistake. I own it. Let's fix it. How can I fix it? So if you need help on that side of it, please let me know. Neil's is much better with clear, concise, black and white. We're here to help. Really think about your communication skills. There's tons of books and fun things on this. If you have a favorite book, please put it in the comments below. I'm always looking for new books on communication skills and how to improve them. I'm sure other people are too. But that's our tip for this week. C is for communication, and we hope you have a fantastic week and happy networking.